Is it like the conductor of an orchestra?
We,
Will.
we can say so also, of course. But that's a very higher order example in the sense that if you know about the orchestra, every member of the orchestra, especially even if it is an ordinary orchestra, because without which they cannot function. Everyone knows his function, his role, and of course competent in his doing already. And they have made several practices, and their which instrument to play when is triggered by the movements of the conductor. You are right in that sense, but in the context of the totality of mental process, it is not that easy. That's all. The conductor may be most of the time asked to get out of the room, and varied instruments or rather varied mindsets will be taking their own uncontrolled dominance. But what Nitya said was another point in the sense that your mind should evolve into the possession of a magnificent, magical conductor of a wonderful orchestra. Every mindset of you, or at least every critical mindset, or every critical instrument of your orchestra of the mind, thoroughly prepared to act according to the signals of the conductor. That is, in a way, we can say the genius himself. Because in an orchestra, the competent violinist may have to pick up only a certain part of the total melody. So he is exactly present there to make that part of the violin, bit of violin. That's all. So every part is equally competent. Every part is equally tuned to the signals of the conductor, and they are all absolutely under the control of the conductor. You are very correct, Nitya. But that we are talking about the genius mind we are coming to. And who is that conductor? Who is absolutely a master of most of the instruments, even though personally not a master, but he conductor knows which instrument to come where exactly. And that he knows because he is very extremely familiar with every player and every note out of every instrument. And that's what you have to do. That's what we are partly doing now. Your will becoming a conductor now by your intellect of analytical intellect developing more and more awareness about the varied mindsets of you, varied instruments of you, at least the minimum main instruments like your attention, your perception, your cognition, your reflection, your thinking, your way of responding, your ways of action, your ways of behaviors, your ways of relationship, and your ways of languages. These are the varied orchestra partners in your mind. All right, Nitya, wonderful. Be the master conductor of the orchestra of your mind, intellect, spirit, body. You talked about the orchestra of the mind. Took at the totality of the orchestra, starting with the body, then the mind, and the intellect and the spirit. Intelligence is nothing but your general knowledge. That you anyway do, you already do, or whatever you collect, go on collecting. That's a different issue. Good, good metaphor. Okay, actually, it's a good metaphor, Nitya. Very practical metaphor. But I don't know to what extent everybody is very clear about an orchestra. All right, proceed, Ashwini.
Yes, sir. So the mind assumes the quality of whatever thoughts we put into it.
We,
I put into it.
I put meaning you put or or it is involved there by the
Yes.
people, the environment, the situations you are operating.
Yes, sir.
All right. But it can include your own choice and thoughts also. All right, proceed.
Yes. So, but there is even without the thought, that background process which facilitates a thought to appear still exists. So
No, 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 no. Something very complex. Once again,
we, uh, I know or sense that I have a mind when I have a thought. But even without the thought, because there is a background process which allows the thought to appear,
of
the
course.
mind the mind is present even in the absence of the thought.
Brilliant. Yes, of course. That's why the thought can happen there. Yeah.
So then the mind is a background process or a chemical medium or an
No, no,
energy
no, no, no,
medium.
no, 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 no. No, that's a good point, but that is the theory of the mind. We are not in, that may be absolutely justified, valid, logically correct statement, but that is not an explanation, a reporting of the referent of your mind. You went into theory making just now in that sentence, actually. That's a beautiful conceptualization, no doubt. But right now, we are not in conceptualization.
Okay.
Right
Then-
now, what you do is, as much as possible, you are reporting, of course, analytically reporting the way you have observed your mind as of now, or your observations about your mind.
okay.
All right. Okay, proceed.
Yes. So my mind, it is a collection of all the thoughts from my intellect. That is all the processed stimuli and their interpretations in a format known to my intelligence,
Hmm.
uh, or sensed by my sense organs.
Not sense organs. Okay, internal sensitivities, there. We will come to that. By your internal sensitivities. Okay, all right. Sense organs are very mechanical. The eyes, the ears, the visual sense organ, the smell sense organ. Yeah, all right. There is internal, that is what you want to say is now that internal sensitivity. Yeah.
Yes. So I didn't understand that internal sensitivity you're talking about.
Right now, you sensed that you did not understand what I talked. That is internal sensitivity.
Okay.
That was not through any sense organ. Of course, you heard it. That is the physical sound. You cannot hear the meaning. You only hear the sounds and words. Meaning is sensed by the internal sensitivity. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Mm. All right. Mm.
So, so when I try to identify where my thoughts are located, I feel that it is in the head region because all my eyes, ears, nose, all the organs of perception, most of it is located in my head.
All right. Okay.
But it is possible that the mind is located everywhere in my body, but
Wait. Uh, Whether you locate it in the brain or the heart or the abdomen, that precisely does not make any difference as of now.
that's
Okay? Because as I said, for the mind, the referent realities are more sensed by than the referent. For example, when you said for me it is in the brain, you cannot sense it in the brain as it is being produced there, like bubbles are produced by water. No, that's not possible. Okay,
yes,
so okay. Having said this, now I am asking you, On what basis you say that mind may be also spread across your body? Your interpretation.
Yes, sir.
Why do you say so? What is the evidence?
Uh,
Or on the basis of what evidence you say this?
uh, sir, I
Your evidence.
yes, I uh, related it to the example of how I can hear a mosquito buzzing in when it comes near my ear, but uh, that does not mean that when it goes away, I cannot. It is not buzzing. Only we can sense it only when it comes near the ears because only there we can hear it.
Hmm.
So because my perception organs are located in my head region, I cannot detect it when it is present in other
Oh,
when mind is present in other
that
region.
is why that's why you use the context of sense organs. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Similarly, a pinprick on your leg or a thorn prick on your leg also you sense it and you feel pain and you make other analysis about that. All right. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other thoughts? Any other ideas?
Uh, Also, the thought in the form of a language might not be known to all parts of my body. So that was also why I said that.
All right. Now I will come back to the sense organs also. In fact, I don't know in which Upanishads, which all Upanishads. Most of the Upanishads carry common items, common concepts. So they say, uh, I don't have the habit of quoting Upanishads or nor I remember any of them. But in general, they say the mind is formed out of sense organs. Okay. They say in Malayalam, Indriyadhishthidam. It's based on Indriyam. Indriyam meaning sense organ. So in most of the literature, they talk about it. For example, if all the five senses are not working, I don't know whether there is a case like that in human history. The so-called mind is very unlikely to be formed in them the way it is formed in anybody else, even in a cat. Because sense data is completely missing. The original mind program must be there. As you said, that basic dimension, that basic energy field is there, definitely. But it cannot be impressed because either it has to hear something, or it has to see something, or it has to sense something. Only those sensory inputs only make the beginning induction programs of the mind. Yes, in that sense, you are true. Then again, as you said, unless you hear what is told, unless the eardrums, let us say, unless the auditory lobe is working, whatever is told, you cannot hear it. Unless you heard it, you cannot have a thought. Or you could have gone to the example of music. Unless you hear the music, unless you look at the tonal variations of the melody, you cannot experience the music. Definitely, yes. In that sense, it is true. All right. But in the sense of the genius level, or already having developed a lot of mindsets about a lot of things in the world through the sense organs, now more critical is your internal intellect and the spirit functions to become the genius. So whether you heard the sound of a mosquito or whether you heard the sound of the dialogue of a master, that is understood there. So how do you process that cognized concepts? How do you translate your understanding into the possible referent of that concept? How do you continue to see the linkages of the reality of that referent? And how do you interpret that? That is the major things you talk about. So, you're primarily very correct to say that mind is part connected with the sense organs also. All right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. For example, uh, you will not say to a disobedient child, "Oh, my sweet boy, you are very bad." You don't say that. You say, "What bad? What are you doing?" You know, you raise the pitch, you increase the volume. If you do not increase the pitch and volume, most of the time the child will not understand that. In fact, the developing child understand that first. Only later they understand the language used. That also something very important to understand. But that's all part of psychology. That is not the purpose of our discussion now. Just a minute. Maya, what do you want to say? Yeah. Once again? Oh, just to hear my voice. How is so you are reading books? All right, go on reading books. And when you read it. Reflect and read and reflect. Okay. All right. Bye. Yeah. All right, Rashidi.
Uh, my mind also has a set of preferences or inclinations.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Of course. Identify that.
Yes.
Great lot of people are not aware of it. Our attention makes all the difference. You know. Why do we need this program? Why every one of you to become a mystic leader is only to invite their attention to whatever they are already. Even ultimate enlightenment is like that only. Whatever is named by the word Satori, that tuning with that original consciousness is within them. You don't have to create that in them. How do you drive their attention to locate it? That's what you do. Right now, your attention about your own mind has increased great lot. So now Ashwati is telling that she is aware of her preferences, her inclinations, her predilections. Very beautiful. All right, of course, they are all called, as you correctly said, the sets or the mindsets. Yeah, yes, all right, yeah.
Yes, sir. They are just like how in a camera you have different settings, one for a portrait mode and one for landscape, and there is another for a manual mode in which various parameters are varied, and there's a set of these variations. Similarly, our mindset are also a set of my mindset is also a set of those uh, preferences or variations.
No, no, no. Much more correctly, those preferences or mindsets, they are inducing variations of your cognitions and perceptions and feelings and emotions and conceptualizations. A particular mindset itself normally does not vary. But varying a mindset is what we are doing to ourselves, and varying an existing mindset is what you have to do to other people also. Got it?
Yes, sir.
When you say varying, you say that a given mindset is varying. That your analysis is very good. That is your by your perception. Yes, correct. But actually, a given mindset is not varying. That mindset is replaced by another mindset. For example, you may say, for example, today morning you felt a little dislike for somebody. After some time, it became a little higher dislike. That kind of a variation is possible, but still, in order to enable that increase in that acceleration of dislike, you have considered some other mindsets which were invoked by observation of some other behaviors of that person. Got it. But
Yes.
you are primarily right, Ashwati. One can normally say, for you, I am talking about the precise process, but your awareness that mindsets can vary is very good. Mindsets should vary. But actually, in effect, Ashwati, for a great majority of people, once a mindset is formed, seldom they vary that. But there can be occasions, for example, we have been friends, and once something happened, and they are no more, not more, no more my friend. So a certain 2, 3 new mindsets are extra added there, by which my mindset for my attachment for you is affected, or in that sense varied. So in practical, manifest level, what you said is true, Ashwati.
Yes.
All right.
Um, so, so my thoughts and feelings, they are like the soft copy of whatever I'm I can potentially express, and their medium of existence is my mind, and my responses and actions and languages, etc., are the hard copies of that thought.
Yeah, your metaphor is very good. I know, I understood what you mean by that. But that the precise details of that metaphor are not applicable. In the sense that a certain mindset may not be get manifested exactly in correlation with that content of the mindset or the gravity of the mindset, which may require some other aspects also. For example, you have a mindset to revise the write upon Jack and Jill, but you may not be able to execute it because you do not know how to do it again. For example, get the point.
Yes.
So execution of a mindset may require, depending of course on the type of mindset, you may have to develop maybe other competencies or little experiences or little more interactions or little more familiarity and so on and so forth. That's all. So whereas the soft copy always get a very high fidelity, more or less highly correlated manifestation, right?
Yes.
Uh, but you have explained the process very beautifully by that metaphor. But in that case, again, you have to, that is possible in certain mindsets. For example, if you love your mother, you will clearly manifest it. But there is a mindset in with a so-called what you call government officer, which is about the official responsibility, or which is about the clear awareness about the illegality involved there. Despite that, he takes the bribe, rather he enforces, or rather he demands the bribe, or he manipulates the bribe out of it. Okay. So in that also you are correct that manipulative mindset manifested itself. But then there is a question: why the other mindset also did not manifest?
Yes, sir.
So mindset being soft copies and will get manifested into hard copies. Yes, possible maybe in certain aspects, but that cannot be made as a rule. But of course, you can legitimately include it as one of the aspects of the mind. But you cannot generalize it. But your perception is absolutely beautiful. I'm just adding on a little bit of analytical precision you can apply. That's all. All right, continue.
And my mind, it has a
But
certain.
by the way, but there's actually there's a lot to discuss on every point which you mentioned, Aswathy. Okay. Actually, every real good mindset should be manifested. I am again connecting it to the concept of the ethics of human entity. An evil mindset is uh, somehow getting manifested, but not always a good mindset. There's a role of the will as well as a role of the strength of mindset, which will come later. So there are umpteen number of mindsets of varying degrees of so-called strength. In deeper psychology, there's a concept called ego strength. That's a beautiful term, but ego is a general covering term. So a mindset, if it is worth the name of mindset, actually speaking, it must be capable of manifesting itself. So most of the time, in great majority of people, only a few mindsets are very strong and ready to be manifested. Other mindsets are mostly vague and unclear or very remote. For example, what Veena Ganesh does in a therapy is there are dominant operating mindsets. Like I don't feel like sitting and studying. I think that I cannot understand mathematics at all, etc., etc. But so she is trying to either install a new mindset or she is trying to identify another mindset in the same person, invoking her attention to that, by which itself that mindset becomes strong, and maybe giving one or two, three additional inputs so that that new mindset or newly empowered mindset will overpower the other mindset, which will get manifested for the advantage of that person. Got it?
Yes.
And also, what Ashwini says has many dimensions. This is what I said sometime back. I told you that I have interviewed Patanjali, I interviewed Buddha, I interviewed Krishna. How whatever is reportedly their lines, their ideas, their statements, or their thoughts, which are in the printed forms, by through that words, through the reference of the of that words, I can more or less clearly project the kind of mindsets or the level of intellect
It's
or the
21:45.
sharpness of their attention by looking at that contents of the statement. Get the point? The reverse. That means by using Sudhi's terminology, by looking at the hard copy, you will see the soft copy. Not only of the soft copy of the hard copy, but also all those other mindsets which created and sustained that soft copy of the given hard copy. Got the point? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But that's a beautiful metaphor. I only would question this in such a sharp analytical terms. But that's a very advantageous metaphor to talk to people. You can, maybe Veena Ganesh also can get a clue from what Aswati said. You can easily convince a person that what you do is a hard copy of your soft copy. Can you deny that? And that person may not be able to deny that. And you can suggest new manifestations. You can suggest new activities for a person, mechanical repetition of some activities, by which the soft copies may be created, or by which new soft copies may be created, or if existing soft copies may be revised and edited and reinstalled and reinforced. And that will be your job also as a mystic leader, or as a guide, or as a mentor, or as a guru, or as a person who gives direction to people. And mind you, giving directions to people happen to you almost every day, possibly. You look at the dialogues of or the conversations of people. In a normal conversation, I mean in a statistically mean point of conversation between people, in fact, if there are three people in a conversation unit, every one of them is actually giving ideas to the other person. That is why there is a discussion. Otherwise, one person will say and the other two people will go on listening. So when they listen, one of them will develop an alternative idea or a new idea or maybe a contradicting idea, and that is being taught to the other person with the purpose of changing a mindset or introducing a new mindset in that person. So from what Ashwini said there, yeah, uh, you can derive a great lot of heuristics or insights in communicating with people, especially with the purpose of making them understand their mind in terms of conflict or depression or frustration or problems. Mind you, you can be very sure that almost everyone around you is in a problem. They may not be telling you because they do not expect that you will be giving them a very powerful guidance. Or there may be somebody coming to you and telling you their person's problem. That's good. Utilize that opportunity to to make some signature change of mindsets in that person vis-a-vis whatever was described to you. At that time, you should have this kind of, of precision. Then only it will work. Otherwise, it is like everybody is actually discussing their problems to the other people. That is what regular conversations are, except when they discuss politics or something like that. The so-called conversation between people at home or between neighbors and all that. All right, Ashwini, proceed to the next point.
Yes. So my mind has a permanent nature and a transient nature. Uh, the permanent aspects are my general beliefs and
You don't,
attitudes.
yeah, you don't have to go to that details. Okay,
Okay.
very clear. All
Yes.
right.
Uh,
When I want you to talk about what you mean by the transient nature, permanent and future permanent minds is all right. What do you refer to in this context? You have to interpret what do you refer to by what is the referent of transient nature of mind? What is that?
the momentary emotions and responses and thoughts.
All right. They are transient, of course, but they are driven by what you call the permanent mindsets only.
Yes.
There cannot be it's next rule of the mind. There just cannot be an expression. There just cannot be a response. There just cannot be a behavior. There just cannot be a way of action. There just cannot be a way of relating with other people. Way meaning, hi, how are you? Come on, sit down. Or did you have a coffee? Or that kind of ways of relating. You have a way of relating with your mother. You have a way of relating with your father. You have a way of relating with your sister. You have a way of relating to your visitors. I mean, that way. And your languages. Each of these five components are definitely controlled by the mindsets and mindsets and mindsets of permanent nature only. There can be a transient mindset. Like both of you and your friend are walking in the road, and then a classmate is coming across you. Then you tell her, or she tells you, then let us pretend that you don't know him. You may execute it. Actually, you do not have a mindset like that. Okay. Or most of these bribe taking people, evil people, manipulative people, food adulterating people, food food manipulating hotel owners, they are all thinking that actually they all think that they don't do it. They just do it for their business. In the evening or every month, they go to the temple and they pray to their gods. I am a nice person, please forgive me. They all think that it was a transient mindset. No. If a restaurant owner is manipulating the food, that is his permanent mindset only. No doubt about that. If someone is constantly making violent language, or at least once using a violent language of thoroughly intimidating nature, sometimes it can be an imitation for a certain purpose. Heard it somewhere or saw it in a film, so just enacted that. But the ones who more or less consistently do that, there is definitely a mindset. Otherwise, how it cannot come out of vacuum, actually. No doubt about that. So there is no transient mindset in general. But as I told you, there can be a transient mindset which you adopt. Okay? For example, you are going to the airport and you will just assume a tough girl like that. Otherwise, somebody may come and enter into a dialogue with you. That's a transient mindset. No, no. What you said, everything is beautiful. I just clarified a little bit. That's all. When you said that there are permanent mindsets and transient mindsets, in a way it is true. But that is not a permanent feature of the mind. Because the very word transient it implies that it is transient. So something transient is not sustainable. Therefore, it is not permanent. But the transient mindsets, okay, as I said, you can theoretically say that, but that is not that relevant because transient mindset is of no practical purpose. That is not a fundamental part of the mind. Did you get that?
Yes, sir.
It does not exist in the mind or it does not comprise the mind the way a permanent mindset is. What is the word set? Set itself meaning set, fixed.
Yes, sir.
All right, please proceed.
So, the last point I would like to make is about the original mind.
Hmm.
So, like this plain colorless solution, which when it is colored by some pigment, and when we keep putting other pigments on top, then the color becomes very different from what it would be if it were put in the original clear solution.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
getting in touch with the original mind is similar to that.
That is a good idea, but uh, this metaphor is not completely applicable. Can you say why? It is not suitable. It does not correlate with the concept of original mind. Can you say why? Of course, it explains the general phenomenon called mind for a great majority of people in the world. But we are now thinking about the original mind, like the Zen monasteries. In the Zen monasteries, they discuss about original mind. I don't think many other traditions talk about original mind. But there is an original mind, understood maybe by other people also, but they use some other concepts to refer to that. They are not clear about original mind. But we want to become clear about original mind. We are clear about original mind. That's why you made this diagram also. It is almost correct, but there is a problem with that metaphor. What is the problem?
The original mind does not exist physically.
No, not that. That the other mind also does not exist physically. I said all right. That is one problem with the metaphor. What is the second problem with the metaphor?
There is there is no aspect of consequence reflected in this metaphor. Consequent action.
That is not required because action is done by the mind. Of course, mental activities are also there. If you mean by mental activity, that is implied there. That is interaction between mindsets. That is implied there. Of course, mindsets are not in compartments. They are always interrelating, interplaying, interpositioning, etc., etc., etc. is constantly going on. That is implied. Mindsets are not like a dead library books there, sitting there. They are in a dynamic field, not that.
I don't know, sir.
No, no. What did you say? That original mind is that colorless surface.
Yes.
Into that, the color is added, and the color gets mixed with that.
Okay.
Then,
That.
then the original mind is lost because you
Yes.
can once a color is added, you cannot go back to the original emptiness.
Yes, sir.
Yesterday we mentioned all these colors are just maintained by the process of the original mind. But the originality of the original mind is still there. That's why all the time new more colors can be added.
It's 22 hours.
Sir,
That,
but is it
that original mind, which was there at the time of birth, let us say so, which will come at the end of the life, that means at the time of death also, that is there, intact, actually intact. Upon that, all the mindsets are registered and become operative and become what you call omnipresent and omnipotent and omniscient, omnidominant. That's all. But your metaphor explains the process. But if you look at the referent of the metaphor, Aswathy,
yes, sir.
it is not correct.
Yes.
That is what you said also. The mindset gets mixed. The original, the terrain of the original mind get colored by that. That you can tell to general public, they will appreciate it. But when you say that, then how will you ask them to come to the original mind? I am sure you may not come across a lot of audience who will appreciate the concept of original mind. But it is very likely that at least in 10 years, somebody may come to you for ultimate guidance. At that time, if you say that mindsets and inputs are colors that has colored your original mind, then Uh, how you will separate, like in a chemistry laboratory, like salt analysis, you will not be able to separate the colors out of the original mind. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But your understanding is definitely good. That is what is happening with the main people, and that's the way it is. Even for you now, perhaps you may have worked yesterday night or sometimes, I don't know. But whenever you try to locate the original mind, you are always looking for a certain color. The original mind is something like colorless, odorless, formless, just energy field at the time of the birth of the infant. That is all. That is the original mind. I told you the other day that there is no specific advantage if you are able to tune up with the original mind, in a certain sense, because it will just make you feel an explosion of wonder where everything will be seen anew, like the infant. For example, right now, imagine, if you can imagine, a moment where you really be that infant just out of the womb, how it will be. With this age and maturity and awareness, if you suddenly come across that mind that existed when you were a 1-year-old baby, what do you think the wonder of the world? What do you think about the wonder of your own body? How would you look at the world? What a magnificent experience of consciousness. Get the point? That is the only motivation to go there. That's all. After that, again, if you are living here in that house, you will be cooking, you will be taking breakfast, you will be talking to Amma, Chechi, Achan, watch TV, play tabla, or sing some songs. That all will continue. But you will have a moment of truth, like you get a first class distinction in your examination. What do you remember? You don't remember any of the subjects, but you got a feeling. That feeling is critical. The prince develops a feeling that matters, a certain self image. Not even a clear self image, it's a kind of a feeling. That's what it is. I am this. I am a prince. That makes all the difference. Why institutions are advertising? There is no secret syllabus in Harvard or London Business School or Stanford. But out of Stanford or Michigan or IIM or wherever, that person is likely to get a feeling, I am from here. Though they don't use it in a positive way. That's a different issue. Or you get a feeling that you are loved. You know you are loved by your mother. Is that every second you recollect? Yeah, yeah, I am loved by mother. After good, yeah, 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 I am loved by mother. No, no, no. That is running in the background of your feeling. Okay. So a similar feeling of having conquered Everest. What happened to Edmund Hillary after that? Nothing. But he got a feeling of a feeling, a damn unique feeling. That's all. So your attempts to discover, to identify as much as possible the nature of that original mind, which is devoid of the driving linkages of the operating mindsets, you just get a moment of feeling. That's all. So that mind is devoid of any colors. It's a colorless, odorless, maybe ultimately we can say a kind of feeling. That's all. Okay. But your metaphor is very good for anybody to understand, even a little baby. Use it. It is very picturesque. It is very vivid. Uh, even a 3-year-old child can understand and enjoy that metaphor. Do it. All right.
Perhaps we can say it is invisible, that colors.
Yeah, that you can talk to a boy, of course. Even their mind is invisible, you know.
Immiscible. I mean, the colors does not mix with that.
That you can say. Yeah. But that level, you don't have to interact with anybody normally. That it is invisible. Even your description and explanation in proper language that your original mind is something great, evidenced by the mind of a little baby, or evidenced by the mind of a sleeping person, by the mind of a happy person or happiness of the same person. You can tell him, or you can invite their attention that all the varied mindsets are nothing but varied colors added onto that. That's good. Go back to your first slide, Ashwini.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is the slide. I saw only this slide. What made you arrive at this presentation, this point, this visible thing? Why did you choose that color? Why did you choose that imagery of water drops falling, whatever? Explain. It is not questioning. I am asking you to explain. That's all.
Uh, just uh,
Was there first of all a conscious choice?
yes, sir.
All right, come on. Then you have to explain it.
Uh, the effect of ripples being created when a drop falls. So I found it similar to how a stimulus falls and immediately some ripples are created in the mind. Very uh,
What do you okay? Okay. Talk with a little more examples. Do you mean? Or what are these drops once again? Sensory input or idea input or experience input or perception input or cognition input of whatever, right?
yes, sir.
All right. So that will more or less inevitably create some waves or vibrations or undulations in the surface of of that, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, beautiful. Now looking at this, what all interpretations further you can make? Okay, let us say this. Good. Now that is the only interpretation possible. Now go on making interpretations. One, two. One it interprets that the drops of inputs fall and there is ripples, ripple formed or waves formed. All right. One, two. And this is a different exercise. I told you I'm always combining different engines of the intellect. If you look at it as the symbolic representation of the referent of the mind, mental process, you see, listen carefully. This is for the discussion, like we use metaphors to discuss the hidden so-called truths. If you use this figure as a case study, as a metaphor, what all interpretations are possible? Come on, do it.
The water droplet is from it is falling because of gravitational pull. It is coming down, and once it hits a surface,
Wait. Do not combine so many ideas, especially in discussion like that. Because uh, can you say why I said that? Can you say why I interfered, Ramesh?
is
Uh,
because that the water droplet is coming from top to bottom. That itself is a
uh,
concept in itself. So
yeah,
that has
yeah,
to
yeah.
be
yeah.
a little
That
more deep,
that itself is to be clarified. Then only you go to the
clarified.
next session. All
Yes.
right.
So, so
So why did you say water drops? That is the picture. You have to interpret it.
mm,
So interpretation you have to do. Water
mm,
drops, I think, is that she has shown. But when you interpret, it is not water drops. It is something else. Listen, that is called interpretation. Picture is water drops.
mm,
Interpretation, you have to do it.
mm,
The picture is stone falling to the ground. Interpretation is gravitational forces.
mm,
So, picture is water drops. So, talk in interpretative language.
mm,
Yes.
mm.
Interpret this diagram. Yeah, all right.
So the picture shows the droplets from circle. It is going into that elongated elliptical. Then from there
No,
it
no, no,
is.
no, 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 no. You have to start with the droplets. What is the droplets? Instead of water drops, you change it into droplets. That is not interpretation.
Mm,
Sir, may I?
Okay, do it. No, this doing is not because Ramesh cannot do it again, but because Nitya
I,
wanted to say something. Okay, come on, Nitya.
I
All right,
wanted to try that. So
all right,
I
please.
think the droplets are like the thoughts or ideas that come from other sources,
Yeah.
and it 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 gets
Wait,
absorbed
wait, wait,
into
wait, wait. Wait. We are talking only about droplets. That's only ideas from other people. Only that can be droplets.
ideas or our thoughts as well, like thoughts, sensations. Um,
Thoughts are inside.
um,
Uh, So you said thoughts or ideas from outside world. It is from outside world. We are not talking about droplets formed inside that water body itself. No, it is purely about droplets coming out of some external terrain.
sources.
So only thoughts and ideas are droplets here.
And,
Anything
no,
else?
it can be any sensations like our
No, no,
all
no.
kinds of
Okay, it could be
sensory
sensory.
inputs.
Only